From jugs to sandwich bags to an unheated greenhouse packed full with winter-sown seeds, there's more than one way to winter sow. In fact, there are 5 that we've tried and that we want to take you through the process and show you how we did it, and then show you actually which one we think works the best and let you know which one is our favorite. So stick around and see how it's done.
No matter how you winter sow, when it comes to what kind of soil you should use, I suggest just regular potting soil. It's really rich soil for the small seedlings. Just when you would sow outside, or if the perennials out in your garden would self-sow, the seeds will fall right down in very nutritious soil. This is just regular potting soil that I have mixed with water, and you really want to make it so it's not hungry for more water. So you can make, how you could see this, like you could ball it up like this, that no water comes out and it doesn't crumble, then it's too dry. But this is actually now a added water, and it's really perfect for sowing. So this is our favorite way of winter sowing. We just use regular old reused meat trays. They have a great form. They come in big, and we have also big and small ones, all kind of shapes. So it's just washed really nicely, and then we have made sure to put drainage holes. That's really important for later on, in case you add too much water, or it's really important that extra water can get away from the smaller roots, from the small baby plants when they grow up. So I'll just add a handful of my soil here around this size here. I just use, like, I have a big hand, so just 3 handfuls of this. I'll place it over here. There we go. And then to the next exciting step is what kind of seeds. So this is a perennial. This is echinacea, and it's really spiky, so I always have my my gloves on. It's like a porcupine almost, and I don't sit and divide what's the main seed. Is really, I'll show you here if I can get it up. So actually right there on my glove is the seed. So, but I don't really divide all the things. I'll just, because they still germinate really successfully. So I'll just drizzle the whole thing down here. And don't worry if you think, okay, there's a lot of seeds in, because later you can just plant them out together in a, you add like a, just divide it. You don't have to divide one and one plant. These echinaceas then can stand together in a group, so it's okay you add a bunch of seeds. In case some don't germinate, then you're sure you have a better success rate with them. Then I'll just add a handful of soil again on top, just so they are covered. There we go, maybe a little bit more. You don't want to see any seeds here, so we just, that was actually like around 2 handfuls, if you have a big hand. Okay, there we go. And then just left to do, see if I can grab it. Just my, very important, with a little sign. You can use whatever I'm using. Here I have a plastic tag, but you can also use wooden popsicle sticks I normally use. And then I just write, so I don't forget what it is. And then I'll just keep it with my spray here. The surface on top here, I'll spray in the beginning here in winter. And then I'll just pop them out in the greenhouse. I'll show you, and leave it over there all winter. Then spring comes. Echinacea need changing temperatures to germinate. Then in spring it will just start to grow. You will see all these new green buds coming up here. And so I just once a week I'll go and keep an eye. You don't want to have the surface here drying out. So once a while, just maybe once a week, go and check, spray a little bit. You also don't want to overwater. But just go once a week to see, does the soil look dry on the top, and then you give a little spray with your sprayer here. So I'll just place it here on my shelf with the other ones. And one of the reasons why this is one of my favorite way to winter sow is we have this unheated greenhouse, really protected against, we don't have birds or neighbor cats to come and destroy the soil that I have all these precious seeds in. And Of course, I do have once a week, I'll go and check with my water spray if it needs to have water, because it won't get water from above. So I still need to check once a while about watering, but it's really protected in here in the greenhouse, and because then it's away from I don't have to look at other ways to winter sow in other containers. This is just tucked away in our old greenhouse here all together.
So another way is to use a bed roller or any sort of plastic see-through type of a tote. This one we actually just rolled out from under the bed. You can see it has wheels on it. It has this great little lid that closes. It was super great for holding clothes, but we weren't using it for holding clothes. So now we're going to use it to hold flowers as we winter sow. Basically what this method is doing is the same thing that our greenhouse was doing. You're making a mini greenhouse using this plastic container. A few things to note if this is the method that you go with. By the way, this method is great if you don't have a greenhouse. Everybody has enough space for something this small, right? We've put holes in the top, and I did this with just a hot glue gun. I held the hot glue gun on there and it went through. The reason I did this, if we use a drill, we've discovered in the past, if we use a drill, it can vibrate too much and you can get sort of like a crack through the plastic. So it just hurts the plastic and makes it a bit more flimsy. So using the hot glue gun gives me a much cleaner hole. You can see I don't have any plastic dangling on the inside or outside. So it was easier that way. I put holes on the top. You can see how many I did, just a little cute pattern. Nothing crazy. And what you're doing with this is when it rains or when it snows, that water's going to drip down and water your seedlings. So that's what you're hoping for, as well as the humidity that the whole thing will build up. I also put some holes here on the side just so we can get some air. Again, I used a hot glue gun for that. That hole's a little bit bigger, so I must have been talking to Lars while I did that one and the glue gun went further. And then, told you there was dust. Also put some here on the bottom. And that's for drainage, because what if it is a big blizzard like we've had before, covered with snow, the snow melts, then your little containers are just going to sit in water. So that's where we're headed. Again, the same idea if you're just using any sort of a plastic tote. From here, you're going to do the exact same method that we just showed you in the greenhouse when Lars was in here. So basically we've used these meat trays. Again, they also have drainage on the bottom. This was ecological meat, if you're wondering why there's a green one. That's why this is here. So we've planted all different types of perennials in these trays, and then they're just going to sit in here. This particular container isn't that big, so we can only get around 4 trays of perennials. We have things like iris, we have some lupins in here. If I wanted to use more space, I could use something like this. These are those really easy throw away. We got these from the cemetery where Lars works. Actually, they were just going to toss them. They've got great drainage. So we could use the same soil, pop the seeds in there, and then line the containers. There are a lot of different ways that you can maximize your space. One thing that we haven't tried and that we don't want to do is plant directly in the container. Can you plant directly in your tote or your bed roller? Yes, of course you can. We could have put soil directly in this guy, put the seeds on it. Bob's your uncle. The reason we didn't is because it's a little harder to get the seedlings out. The way it is now, for example, when these lupins are ready, ta-da, this is what's ready. Then we can transplant them on super duper easy. If we had to come in here, scoop out, and how would we even be able to divide it? If we used sort of like a paper divider, that's going to get soaked. If we used a metal divider, it just doesn't seem very practical. So our suggestion is to always use different types of containers in this guy. Basically, once they're in there, we will have sprayed them here at the very, very beginning just to make sure that they're nice and wet on top, keep them a little bit moist. The soil, as we already mentioned, was already mixed with water, so they should be good to go. That's what we're hoping for. That's the principle behind this. From here, we're going to lock it up. We now have a mini greenhouse. We're going to put this outside. Remember, with winter sowing, that's what you want, right? You want those temperatures to fluctuate, to change, to go from snowing, to go back to sunny. That's what you want to happen for this to get all sweaty and for these seedlings to grow. We're going to put it, actually, we have a greenhouse, so we're going to put it between the greenhouse and our hedge. The reason being, that's a nice protected area. It's not too sunny. It's also not too shady. You want to find that nice balance somewhere on your property. And we don't have to look at it for the rest of the winter. The last thing you want to do is look outside and think that your bed roller is sitting outside. It's just not a good look. So let's go put it there, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that. So come on. So this is where we're going to put it. You can see it's a pretty windy day. We have the ivy on one side, the greenhouse on the other. Notice this wind, that was what I was getting at. If we didn't have this structure here to protect it, we could easily put a stone or a brick on top of it to sort of hold it down and weigh it down. If you live in a windy area, as we've told you before, the coast is right behind where you are, so we get a lot of wind this way. So that's one thing that you can do to keep it from flying away. Also, if it doesn't rain that much, if it doesn't snow that much, if the temperatures aren't really fluctuating and you're seeing that it's not building up that moisture inside, keep an eye on it. You may, yes, it's a mini greenhouse, but you still may have to water it. You want to just double check that the surface isn't drying out, and you can tell that because, especially with this potting soil, it'll get a little light gray in color. You can tell when it's dry. So just double check that. And because these seeds are planted so superficially, you don't really have to stick your finger in and check an inch deep or anything like that. Just double check the surface. Use a sprayer or a little water mister just in case you haven't had enough rain. Usually though, with this sort of winter sowing, it is a do it and leave it type of process. But again, do keep an eye on it.
So another way of winter sowing is in these jugs. That's really popular to do, and all kinds of containers you can use. These we had vinegar in. You could also use a regular water bottle, and you would the first thing is you take the lid off and discard them. You are not going to use them anymore. So I'm just going to show you how you're going to cut it. So I'm going to just gently cut, not all the way through, and notice here I leave a big gap here because you need enough space for the soil, and then later on the small seedling also needs to have enough space to grow for the spring when they start to germinate. And I'm not gonna cut all the way. Just gonna do the other side as well. Just about to where the handle begins here in the back, so you can bend it. There we go. Now it's cut all the way. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. And then it's ready. So I have the water bottle cut here, as you can see, not all the way, so just tip it because later I'm going to close it again. Make sure to have drainage holes. You can either use a glue gun, or if it's really hard, you can also do a drill. Just go really gently. So that one and this one as well, the jug here, make sure to have drainage holes in the bottom here. We did it with a glue gun. It was super easy. So now I'm just going to start adding a few handfuls of my soil here. Just there we go. Just around, I'm doing just like that. And then I'm also just going to add some soil in this one, a few handfuls. Because this is what all the seedlings, this is where they begin to grow. So I kind of put quite a lot of handfuls in so they have enough also where the roots can grow for a long time before you transplant them later on in the garden. Because in this way you just, once they are bigger in spring, no need to repot them, you can just plant them directly out in the garden. Because then the changing temperatures, they have already hardened the plants, and then they are really tough, and the perennials can go right out in the flower bed. So now we're going to add our really fun part, the different seeds. I've collected from the garden our echinacea seeds here. And notice it's the whole thing here. The seeds is down here in the bottom here, as you can see, the really thick part here. But I'm just gonna, in the jug here, I'm just gonna drizzle a bunch of seeds in this one all over. There we go. And these echinacea, for example, they really need changing temperatures to germinate. So they are really, it's really a great way to control your seeds. You can also let it self-sow out in the garden, but then the birds will take the seeds, or you would think it's weeds coming up in the spring. It's really hard to see the difference between new weeds and actually new perennial small seedlings. So there we go. So the jug is ready. I'm just going to add a handful of this soil on top here. There we go. A little bit more. And then you can, what I normally do, I would also put a name tag in here, plastic or whatever. I have a wooden one. Add in here what kind of seeds you put in. Then I'm gonna take my gloves off here so I can really show you how to do. The next step is the tape. So we're just gonna do like this. Take a little bit of tape and make sure it covers here. Really close it up nice and tight here. Add one more. Then it's also easy, if you need to look at them later on, easy to take it off. I'm just gonna add 3 here, so it's really nice and closed. Add all the way there. And then you have a little peeking hole here. You can look down how the seeds are doing later on. But we're gonna, this one also, not to forget, we normally do 2, both a little label inside, but then also here we write, this is purple soul hat, the echinacea. I write it on here with a permanent marker that can, so you can later on see it. In case it goes off a little bit here, you also have a little name tag inside with what kind of seeds you have. So we're gonna place it out behind our greenhouse. That's a different way we did, but you could also then do in these containers. If you don't have a greenhouse other place to winter sow, we're gonna place it next to the heads out away from direct sunlight. And the great thing about this is you don't have to do anything else. You can just let it be here until spring. Then water will come down here, and too much water, it will just drain out, and the seeds will start to germinate once it gets warmer, getting these changing temperatures. And then you just in spring, you can keep an eye on how is it doing. Maybe sometimes if it needs, you can use a little sprayer here and spray a little bit down if it gets super dry in the spring. So these are ready just to stand here. As you can see, it's quite windy. The beach is right behind our house, so we do put them here where it's kind of a little bit sheltered against the hedge, and then the greenhouse on the other side. And we're trying to put it away from direct sunlight, so we don't have to keep an eye on these all the time and water them. These will stay here all winter, and then when spring comes and it gets warmer, they will start to germinate. And you can keep an eye on them if you need to water them. You can easily see it if the top of the soil looks a little bit dry. Use a water spray and spray a little bit of water in. But otherwise, there's nothing else to do than just once in a while keep an eye on these little containers. So another way you could winter sow if you don't have a greenhouse or a place for containers, bed rollers and so on, is a raised flower bed out in your garden. So we have one here where we had dahlias earlier, like the summer flower. And so I've just have really nice soil here from the garden. So I'm just gonna reuse this. And in this area here, I'm gonna sow some just echinacea from the garden that I picked the seeds. So I'm just gonna drizzle the whole thing, just the finished petals, everything here, just all over here, just like this. And the little fat piece at the bottom is actually the seed here. But I'm just gonna cover the whole thing here. Then I'm taking some of my my potting soil here on top. Just gonna cover all these seeds so you can't really see any showing here like this. Just really roughly here like that. So just cover them. Then I'm gonna add a little name tag here. Poke that in there so I know what kind it is. There we go. And left to do is, you really want to cover it. So I just have a little box I don't use here. I'm just going to cover it over here. You could put a little stone on so it won't fly away. It's super windy in our garden. But you could also use some chicken wire. If you have an old glass frame, you can cover it almost so it works like a greenhouse. But in this way, you don't have to do anything until spring comes. Because winter sowing is all about leaving those seeds, and then nature will do all the rest. Echinacea, this kind of seeds, really wants to have changing temperatures to germinate. So leave it here, and then in spring, when the temperature gets warmer, these seeds will start to germinate and grow. And once in a while you can keep an eye on if you need to spray with a little sprayer. Otherwise nature will do the rest, and nature will harden the plants, so you don't need to take them in and out for them to get used to the outdoors. You can divide them and put them directly out in the garden. Isn't it great? I can't wait. Okay, you ready, Alan?
Yes.
You have been dying to tell people about this way of winter sowing, right?
Yes. So if you don't have a raised flower bed or a greenhouse, you don't have a tote that you can roll out, you don't have milk jugs or vinegar jugs, what can you do?
Here we go.
Y'all ready for this? Sit down now. IKEA has not sponsored our video, so I will fold it. A plastic bag. This is just a little sandwich bag. Don't have a sandwich bag. I don't eat sandwiches. Why do I need a sandwich bag? Why not have one of these? This one had strawberries, jordbær in Danish, which means earth berries. Isn't that the sweetest name ever? This had strawberries in it. You could use something that had grapes in it. I know that your country probably has something very similar. So, these two ways.
So there's no excuse, right, for winter sowing?
There is no excuse unless you don't have a place with winter. And then come visit and we'll share our winter with you. This one with the strawberries has drainage already in the bottom, as you can see. Let me put this down. Has drainage at the bottom.
Okay.
And then has holes here at the top. That way the strawberries or the earth berries, that's right? Jordbær, earth berries.
Right.
That way they can breathe in the store. And they're from Spain, so thank you, Spain. Danish strawberries are not in the winter. For this bag from the big box department store or furniture store, there are no holes because your sandwich would not stay fresh. So I'm just going to use a nail and I'm going to poke a bunch of holes through the plastic.
And if you don't have a nail, you can use whatever.
If you don't have a nail, get a nail. I think that's the point. This needs holes at the bottom of the bag and at the top of the bag, because just like everything that we've done so far, except for the raised flower beds, you're basically making a mini greenhouse. That tote was making one to hold that temperature. Did I poke enough holes? The greenhouse is, of course, one. Yeah, but this is fun. It's like popping bubble wrap. So, drainage holes. There's the nail. Now, what's going to happen? We're going to put soil in here, and then we're going to plant our seeds directly in the bag and in the container. These are going to go right outside next to everything else that we've been putting. You can put this in an unheated greenhouse or somewhere like this little work shed that we have. It could also sit here in the windowsill. That's also a great place. This doesn't get a lot of sunlight, so maybe that could work. So play around with what works best for you and for your area. Let's get some soil in here and then get these seedlings planted. So I'm adding some dirt into my little sandwich bag. You want to make sure when it comes to this, this has been very helpful because it has this lovely decoration. I should really turn the store name around. Anyway, we have this lovely decoration to help me know how much dirt. You want to remember that your plants are going to grow up. So while it would be super fun to put soil in the whole bag, we just can't do that. Same here in our strawberry container. Jordbær, exactly.
See, they learn Danish things
You're
too.
so good at Danish, Lars. And Lars wanted me to remind you.
Maybe a little bit more?
Yes, but I wanted to remind him about the drainage holes.
Oh, okay.
He did not hear me say there were drainage holes a while ago.
No, I heard it, but in case you had a container that didn't have drainage, so that's
okay.
what I mean.
Okay, so
I
in
wanna
case
help our
our people. Are you?
Yeah, okay, I almost tripped. Okay.
Well, y'all didn't know you were in for a treat. All right. So We have our soil. This will go on top. Let's plant something. We're going to plant some Perennial.
Biscaya vulgaris.
Look at you speaking Latin. Let's show these pretty seeds here. Can you come in and show what I got here? Look how small they are. Can you guys see that? Absolutely beautiful. So I'm just going to take them. I'm going to drizzle them here on top. Getting them all good in there. You'll notice that's enough, don't you think, Lars?
I think so.
And then I'm going to take, oh, these are way smaller than I thought. Lars is the seed collector. This little bag won't hold as much, so let's just get what we can in there, shall we? Again, sprinkle those in there. I'll put these back in.
And as you notice, there's maybe also a few bits of dried flower petals. That doesn't matter, they will sprout and germinate.
Yeah, and we have found over 1,000 years of gardening that yes, you can remove all of this, but it just doesn't matter. When that plant out there, the mother plant for this one, for example, tosses those seeds, they're going to fall on the ground with all of this stuff included. So we don't spend time cleaning our seeds. I'm sure there are great gardeners out there that do. Super good for you. Enjoy that process. We don't.
They might have a whole day to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So great. Yeah. We collect way too many seeds. Lars is a bit of an
So what are you doing now?
I'm putting just a thin layer of soil on top of those seeds to cover them up. The same thing I need to do here in my sandwich bag. Just a thin layer. I didn't get quite as many in here. Great. Boom, boom, boom. From here, I'm going to take the sprayer. Give them a little spray on top just to make sure that we're good to go. And then the same thing there inside the bag. Great. From here, I'm unable to put the popsicle stick. That's how we usually label things because this lid is really tight and this one as well. So I'll put the label here on the outside and then we'll put these outside.
And it's just like, ta-da, with a little marker. Really.
Thanks, assistant. Great. So let's get that done and then we'll go put them outside.
Good idea. Let's go.
So our Perennial are ready to sit right here. You can, we've actually seen people on social media, a lot of people really swear by this sort of sandwich bag method. We could have taken a popsicle stick and put it long ways in the bag to help keep it open, but we don't find that really necessary because as you can see when the soil is in there, see how flat it gets? And then it holds the bag open on the side. If we squeezed all the air out, yes, sure, it would be too tight, but this way is really fine. Here we're going to put them, we're going to keep them from where, what you call it?
The greenhouse?
Yeah, the greenhouse, but the runoff when it rains from the greenhouse. So we want to keep them here close to the hedge. That'll also protect them a little bit from all of the wind that we have.
It is windy today.
And again, because it's so windy, you could easily put a stone. It wouldn't take that much to sort of hold this one down. So let's put it over here as well.
But also to really keep neighbor cats and birds away from these. They would love to peck in that soil there.
Yeah. Keep an eye on it. The same with all of these methods. You really want to keep an eye on it and make sure that it's not drying out. Technically, you should be good to go until spring, but we do want to make sure that we're keeping an eye on them. And since we do most of our winter sowing in the greenhouse, this is actually the method that we prefer in there. That's why all of those trays are in there. These are the methods that we find really popular in and around social media. So we're here to try them out, let you know how we find success with them, and then show you how they look when the seedlings sprout. So that'll be the next thing that we show.
Yay!
It's now 4 months later and it's time to check in on all the things that we winter sowed. We're in the glass house first.
And here really things has grown a lot. Like it's super hot today and what we sown in here, I would say like 90%, 95 has really sprouted.
Yeah,
and
I agree. For us, this method of all the ones that we went through this winter, this one has been the most successful and has always been. This is the one we always do.
We do the most, yeah, actually. It always, because it's really protected in here and each kind of either perennial or hardy annuals, they just sprout whenever it's time. They get these, some of these get cold and warm temperatures and just sprout whenever they are ready. Like what we look for, I'm already full on, like super busy repotting some of them before they come in the garden, but that they have this second set of leaves before we kind of, like the lietros here has this kind of sword looking one is the second one, and that's a signal for me that it's ready to be repotted. And lietros, for example, really likes just to have a big clump together. It doesn't have to be one plant in a new pot.
What else we got?
And we also have like lupins,
those
one of my
worked
super
really
favorite
well.
ones. And just here you can also just see the second set is really this, how like you can see it's a lupin, like a baby lupin. And those you could, repot or put directly out in the garden, no problem for those. And we have like delphiniums, also here a light blue one, super pretty with the second set of leaves that need to be repotted. We have verbena, like a lot here. I already started repotting, and here you can see, looking for the second set of leaves, like have some little like spiky ones almost, and then it's time for it to be repotted. And already, repotted a lot of things into bigger pots, and so for example here the lupins here, repotted them here, and either put two on, and they really, and you can see as a signal here when it's time to put them in the garden, when they start to grow out the roots from the bottom.
Exactly. So as far as we're concerned, this method in our unheated glass house is the best way to winter sow. But why don't we go check on the other methods and see what's going on?
Let's do it.
Let's start here at our raised bed. This method, for us, did not work.
It did not work. We had now just put some other perennials here. We sowed some echinacea, and we had a box on top to protect against like birds pecking in it. I think we got way too much rain, so it did not sprout. So that was a no-go for us.
Well, for sure, we had the wettest winter in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that could have been one of the reasons why this method for us just didn't work. Let's go look at some of the others.
Let's do it.
We also used a bed roller, the sort of plastic tote, and put seeds in there. How are they looking now?
Some of them are doing okay, and some of them are just flooded in water. But surprisingly here, like look at the verbena here.
Yeah, that one's done
really
well.
came. The lietros, nothing.
No.
It simply got too wet. Yeah, not even down here. A little bit, small sprouts coming.
Okay.
Maybe it's just a little slow here also. Here we have a congolus.
Oh, wow.
Nothing. It's like soaking wet.
We're growing
here.
mud.
Yeah, that's mud. And yeah, a few of them are coming, but definitely it's not a percentage-wise, like maybe 10%, not even. Astrantia, they are coming though.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Sprouting, and they are just late. But something has chewed also on, maybe a slug or something on the lupin here. Most of them have been eaten off. And caterhella here is coming slowly, but and the flumis here is coming, as you can see there.
All right. So
But-
for 10%, not the end of the world.
Maybe actually more, maybe like 40%. Okay.
If we didn't have a glass house, this would be one of the methods that we could use. I think one of the problems, if you will show the lid there real quick, the holes on the lid, we've realized were too big and really not necessary. We would come out here even in the winter, when it was really cold, no, but as it started as the winter started meeting the spring, there was a lot of condensation, a lot of moisture in this box, but when it would rain, and I've already mentioned that we had the wettest winter, it would just flood inside the little box.
So we could have actually just not made holes on the top, because we already made air flowing through there on the side here. So,
But considering that there's a lot of water that got in there, to still have this many
actually-
seedlings,
I'm surprised actually.
exactly, so not bad.
So if you don't have a greenhouse, that could be an option. It's like Christmas almost, opening these jars to see. And these ones were just placed at the heads, really shady, in water bottles. We tried plastic bags. what was this, grape?
Well, no, that's where strawberries come.
Oh, strawberry box.
For us, it's, yeah, I'm pretty sure strawberries or raspberries came in that, either way.
So the percentages also not great. Some
All
of
of
them
these are
well.
echinacea, by the way.
Echinacea and the Viscaia vulgaris, the Perennial.
Excuse me. Okay,
But they
so
are
not all the same thing at all, excuse me.
And there's like drainage holes here, just natural ones. We didn't make any extra, but that's soaking wet. But here the Viscaia vulgaris is coming though. It has tiny sprouts coming. There's a roly-poly down there.
Oh.
A binky-bider. And
Okay, not bad.
so that
not
was
bad.
in the strawberry box. Here, nothing really in the big water bottle.
No. Okay.
The echinacea. We have some in the plastic bag. The Perennial, there's a few coming down there actually, but it's
Oh, I
very
see them.
wet.
I see them there on the corner.
Yeah, tiny ones. And over here, there's a few from this big one jug. There's a few echinacea coming up there.
Okay.
So
Quite surprised, and we have, no joke, not done anything to these
this
at
one,
all
no.
because our main focus is what we use in the glass house. These were experiments,
Yeah.
so we can see what sort of percentage and sort of let you know what we felt about it. Not bad.
And of course, during the greenhouse, you have to spray a little bit more often water because our unheated greenhouse is not covered or anything. So when it does get very hot here after a few months and weeks, we have to spray, have the air circulation open the greenhouse.
What do you mean? Yeah, we have to keep the trays watered. That's what you mean. We spray
That's
those.
what I mean, yes.
And then it's unheated, so we keep the air circulating by just opening the door. So we open the door, and that's how we keep that air circulating.
Yeah.
Moss still comes on top of a lot of those trays, and that's fine. You can just scrape it off. It won't hurt anybody. It's quite natural. But yeah, okay, so not bad. Nice to know that these methods,
They do
imagine
work.
if we'd actually paid attention to them.
Yeah.
So for anyone out there who's interested, give these methods a try. Let us know which one's your favorite. And imagine if you did use a strawberry container and you actually put effort and looked at it often, you could have kept it from being so wet. But the good news is, even if you don't, hey, things are still coming.
But also another good really benefit or great thing about winter-sown is that you make the small seedlings very hardy if you compare it to pre-sowing inside. The plants are already really ready to, for example, this box or the greenhouse, you can replant it out in the garden. You don't have to harden it, put the tray out a few days for them to get used to the climate outside.
Exactly.
Nature has already done that.
And speaking of that, why don't we show that? Why don't we take one of those seedlings that's done so well in our greenhouse and plant it out?
And plant it, yes.
Let's do it. So you can see that our winter sowing has done well, as well as taking cuttings and all sorts of stuff. So what are we going to choose, Lars, to plant
That's
out?
the thing. There's so many things. Maybe we do a pink lupin.
I just hit my head on the door.
Oh, wow. Were you that tall? You can really see it's ready to get out. We could have.
Oh, can you show the bottom again?
Oops, there you go. You can see the roots coming out. So it's already really nice and strong. And we'll take it out.
Let's do it.
Good. So we have a great spot for this little lupin. What I've done, I have repotted them from the bigger tray with a lot of the lupins in. If you don't have the option or the space to do a lot of repotting, you could easily have just planted it directly out from the tray instead of repotting in smaller little plants. That would have been totally fine as well. So what I do, it's rained a lot, so I'll just loosen the soil a little bit.
Yeah, it actually rained all morning, so this soil is...
And then the sun came out. It's really weird.
Now it's cloudy again. But our soil is generally, we're quite blessed here in
Just
Denmark.
loosen it a little bit. And also with this one, because I know lupins are gonna be quite tall, I'm not gonna place it really close to the edge, to the border here, because eventually, by time, I know it will, you have to be patient with the perennial. They do take time, but so this little one here, she will grow up to be really tall, and she needs some space. We loosened up the hole here, and then I just like kind of push on the sides gently here, just to loosen it, and then I hold with my two hands here and tip it over, and then you can really see those great roots there.
Yeah.
Right, so
Very
it's really
nice.
a nice and strong plant here. I'll place it, then I see it's a little bit too low. I loosen a little one, hold it there, and try not to break too much of the root system, because he's really nice established here, just around, and just gently push down.
It looks so lonely in the new
I
flower
know, it'll get some bunch of new friends. There we go. And then I'll keep it here in the beginning. It's not a problem here, but I'll keep it watered in case it really gets dry. And then we'll really quickly, you will see it'll start having more foliage, and that's a sign that it's starting to get established and getting more roots. And it'll do really great here with getting this one a lot of sun. What I always check with each kind, if it needs shade or sun, really make sure you plant it where, if for example, if it's a shade loving little plant, make sure it's not in too much sun, because then it won't thrive.
Exactly.
There we go.
Okay, we're obviously a little busy trying to get all of these winter sown perennials out and in the garden.
We have a bunch to do still.
We sure do. But it's been really successful. So do let us know, as we mentioned before, let us know what your favorite method of winter sowing is. If you're able, we can only suggest what's always worked for us, and that's this unheated glass house with all of its cracks and crevices and air blowing through. But yeah, it's worked for us. So thanks so much for watching.
Tack för idag. Moin!